Hey everybody, we're going over Texas Penal Code 9.22. It's necessity. And this is one of my favorite defenses. Luis, do you have it pulled up there?
I got it.
Can
So
you read it
this,
for us and kind of explain what we got there?
yes. So section 9.22, necessity. The point of the statute is to provide a defense to defendants in criminal cases. And so, real quick, conduct is justified if the actor reasonably believes the conduct is immediately necessary to avoid imminent harm. Two, the desirability and urgency of avoiding the harm clearly outweigh, according to ordinary standards of reasonableness, the harm sought to be prevented by the law prescribing the conduct. And three, a legislative purpose to exclude. The justification claim for the conduct does not otherwise plainly appear. So those are the guidelines for a necessity defense as part of a criminal case.
So my favorite example of necessity is you're caught in a forest fire and you're running through the burning forest and there's a house up in front. It's not your house and there's no trespassing signs. Can you trespass and bust into the house to save yourself from the burning fire?
If I'm looking at the statute and how it's written, the answer is yes, assuming that in the criminal trespass statute, it doesn't say anywhere in it, you cannot use necessity as a defense to this offense. So,
Yeah, not a trick question. That's
right,
not in there for that one. Burglary of a building, burglary of a habitation also
right,
doesn't
right.
have a specific non-necessity defense. That's my favorite one. When is it okay to bust into somebody else's house, trespass on their property? Heck, if somebody caught you in the middle of doing that and saw the fire behind you, they probably wouldn't even be mad. They're probably still calling 911, but it might be for an ambulance.
I mean, hopefully they're not there either, considering there's a big fire going on.
Yeah. I guess I'm assuming you're going to be helped because, maybe you've cleared the trees around the house or
That's
something
true.
like that.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, that's fair.
if it's up in the big national forest here in Montgomery County, you might be in different luck. But
Yeah.
you got what's another good necessity?
I feel like when I was a JP prosecutor during my time doing those rotations, a sort of classy offense that would come up a lot was like speeding. And people would often tell me, or they would tell the officer that wrote the ticket, that they had a very good reason for speeding, and they would try to couch it in language that would make it seem like necessity. So maybe I'm speeding because I've got my wife in the passenger seat and we're going to the hospital because she's about to give birth. I think that's like a classic example of necessity in a speeding case.
That's rough. That's rough if you're having to use that because that means you stopped for the officer. You didn't get the escort over to the hospital.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of another one. Maybe an assault could be justified if it's like a reckless assault. You ran through a building because you were trying to run away from somebody else. Robbing a bank, that's duress more. I think I'm thinking of like
Yeah.
if somebody forces you to rob a bank because they said they're going to kill you. That's not necessarily necessity. That's more duress. We'll get into that when we get into the duress sections. But that's it. 9.22 necessity. It's a defense in that way, as amended since 1974 and amended by acts of 1993. Went into effect under its current form in 1994, before half of our listeners were born. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.